Yeah. But I find that the majority of women are really very down-to-earth and basic. They want a husband. They want a man that's husband material. They don't want a guy that's off bar hopping or out looking for how many conquests they can make. They want a guy that's husband material, that they can say, this man's with me for the long run.
This man is mine.
And if you have children, this man is going to accept my children. He's going to love my children. He's going to be there with me. And that's why...
You sound very old-fashioned.
Oh, I am. I'm very old-fashioned. Probably more than most people. But with 9 children, you know, every magazine I do, I make that my children can read it and look at it and show it to their friends and not be embarrassed. So you find that it's definitely not Chippendale. Even our centerfold, if you look at the centerfolds, these are just guys that are neat guys.
Yes.
And who want to find, like this young man right here, Ken Griffith. He's a young Christian man and definitely wants a wife. And he's just a sweetheart guy, hard working. I mean, he's
good,
a neat guy.
solid citizen type.
That's right.
Down-to-earth people
who are ready to say, "Hey, I want to find a wife."
When I find the
and
right,
what's the problem?
When I find the right mate, that's the one for me, and that's the one. Period.
That's it. And so, as a result of all these men contacting us and saying, "Hey, we want equal time," we opened up the magazine, and so it's AlaskaMen USA, and so we have half AlaskaMen. Sometimes it's a little more, and depending on how many are nominated from the rest of the United States, and then we have. Oh, we'll have men from all over California, or when I fly to England, I'll do a section on British men or Australian men. Or, you know,
so you're doing special sections?
Yeah, wherever I go. Sometimes I do a special on Jewish men, Christian men, whatever. Like during Desert Storm, we did a special about the Desert Storm men, and we had the most wonderful couple that got married. She saw the magazine. She was in a hospital recovering from a car accident. And she found one of our magazines. Somebody had left it in her room, and she saw a man recovering in Germany from the Desert Storm activity over there.
He says, and I want to meet this guy.
She started writing to him, and he thought she was wonderful. And so after she got out of the hospital, she flew to Germany and met him. And they had about a 2-week whirlwind courtship over there. And then she flew home, and then when he got out of the service 2 months later, he flew there, and they were married. Just wonderful. I mean, how would you?
You really are a matchmaker at heart, Susie.
You can't help love it. It is like a joke, but it's a labor of love for me. I enjoy very much what I do. We have 3 to 5 weddings a month, and as I see the magazine expanding all over the world, and we had one of our Scottish men marry a girl from L.A. with 2 children, and she lives in Scotland on the moors with her 2 little girls with her Scottish husband. And believe me, those Scottish men, they really treat their women wonderful. She's the happiest woman
They're
in the world.
really Alaska men.
They are definitely down to earth. They
fun.
cherish their wives.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful thing. And I get letters from women all over the world, and they all say the same thing. If it's Chinese language, Russian, Guamanian, whatever it is, they all say the same thing. I can just hold the letter, and I know what it's going to say. They say, I want a rugged, down-to-earth man who sends me, who cares about me, who loves me, who'll just be there with me, forever. Why sit there and wonder what's going to happen? And it works.
I want to explore some of the differences you're finding in the age. Do you have women of all ages contacting you?
Yes, all ages.
And all races?
All races.
And they all have one common thing, and that's what binds all of the women together, yes. And all of the men together in a way. There
was a time, I guess when you'd call it the swinging era, when the hot thing among men was to have how many conquests they could have. Men were embarrassed to say, hey, I really want to find a wife. I want to be a family man. It was like, who wants to be a family man? I want to be a swinging single guy. That's no longer...
That's a very empty life when you get to be 50 years old.
They found that out, and now with AIDS and everything, people found out that is not what's the real thing here. The real thing is the enduring of relationship, your family, the stability. That's what's real here.
I want to share a thought with you. This is the 90s, not the 60s. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and people are all of a sudden waking up to, this is what's really real. That's what I've been missing all these years in my life, is love and a family and enduring to the end.
How about the word roots?
Yes, yeah. It gives you,
and
your
have
children,
a home. Mm-hmm. And your children have a home.
They have a stability knowing there was mom and dad there. They always were there for us. They gave us moral standards. They loved us. And That's why America was so great.
Does a woman want to work if she has an Alaska man as her husband?
Well, it depends on the individual. I mean, you see everything and anything. The men are very independent up there, and they don't mind if their wives are independent. They don't expect them to stay at home and just be subservient to them.
No,
If
no, I
they're,
didn't
the
think they
women
would.
are, yeah, if a woman wants to work and be with, doing something creative.
Well, she needs to express herself some way.
Yes, my husband, when I came up with this concept and this idea, he went to the, every end he could to help me to get started. He backed me up. He, he would always help me when I had to go out and do a project. He was there helping.
Before the magazine, were you working?
No, I
Raising 9 children, did you have a lot of extra time?
I always plan well. I'm very organized.
Yeah, I guess. You have to be with 9.
I did run a daycare center for 28 years, and it was a state license, so I was very busy. I always had at least 10 children.
Oh, okay.
And,
you had your own daycare center.
Well, I love children, and I'm more comfortable sitting on the floor because of it than in chairs, because I'm so used to being on the floor telling them stories and working with them. But now I've gotten so most of the men, they're almost like my kids, because I have kids that are, my oldest is 36, so.
I was thinking about it. I interviewed my students when I was teaching at school, and I had them come in one at a time and sit down, and I said to them, just tell me about you. I want to know about you as an individual. And I found that about 70% of them at the university there, in my classes, were from broken homes.
Yes, it's a sad thing.
And the majority of them who were not married. I said, are you dating? Oh, yes, I'm dating and I'm looking. But I'm going to find the person who's right for me.
That's right.
Because I'm not going to put my children through what my parents put me through. And maybe these are the children of the parents of the 60s.
Kind of a reaction to what's gone on.
I think so. I think the pendulum may be swinging back to what we call good old family values.
It really is, and I'm so glad to see it, because I think we're going to see a higher quality of life among people and children, a lot more happiness than there was, and
the
that makes
security
me
has
happy.
to be there for a child.
Mm-hmm.
A child has to know that there is the security.
You can't imagine how many children write to us and nominate their dads to be in the magazine.
Are these children of single parents?
That's right. They want their dads. And then there's older girls or men that write in and say, my dad's single. Can you help him find a wife? And so, I mean, I even put my dad in there one time when he was widowed and he wanted to find a wife. And sure enough, we got him married. He went to marry one girl and then fell in love with her friend.